Cyber Threat Brief for July 2, 2026. SharePoint Remote Code Execution hits CISA, the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency's known exploited list with a Friday deadline. 40 bleed credential harvesting ties directly to INC and links ransomware deployments across 12 confirmed intrusions. An AI agent executed a fully automated database ransomware attack from initial breach through encryption, no human in the loop. Here's the full breakdown of today's top security stories. Daily Cybersecurity Brief. July 2, 2026. Next section, Critical Alerts. SharePoint Remote Code Execution CVE 2026-45659 added to CISA, the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, KEV, known exploited vulnerabilities catalog. After active exploitation, CISA added CVE 2026-45659 to its known exploited vulnerabilities catalog on Wednesday, following evidence of active exploitation. The deserialization flaw, CVSS, the Common Vulnerability Scoring System, 8.8, affects SharePoint Server Subscription Edition, SharePoint Server 2019, and SharePoint Enterprise Server 2016. Any authenticated attacker with site member permissions can trigger remote code execution without requiring admin privileges. Microsoft patched the vulnerability in May 2026, but marked it exploitation less likely, which now contradicts observed in the wild activity. The EPSS, the Exploit Prediction Scoring System, score sits at 85th percentile, indicating moderate exploitation probability. Action. Apply Microsoft's May 2026 patches by July 4, 2026, FSEB agency deadline. Review authentication logs for unusual SharePoint activity since May. Limit site member permissions where feasible. Sources: The Hacker News CISA. Microsoft uncovers parallel threat activity from two clusters. A routine ransomware investigation uncovered Storm 2603, Warlock ransomware, and a second unrelated threat actor operating simultaneously in the same network. Initial access came through CVE 2025-11371, Gladnet Triafox, CVSS 9.1, EPSS 100th percentile, CISA KEV. Storm 2603 deployed Velociraptor to blend with admin tools, established Cloudflare tunnels and Zoho Assist for persistence, created domain admin accounts, and used a vulnerable driver NSEC-KRNL. SIS to disable EDR. The second actor used DLL, Dynamic Link Library, sideloading, and custom backdoors. Both threat groups moved laterally beyond the first network into a second organization. Action. Patch CVE 2025-11371, Gladnet Triafox, immediately if running. Audit Cloudflare Tunnel, Zoho Assist, and VS Code SSH configurations for unauthorized remote access. Hunt for NSEC-KRNL. SIS driver and new local/domain admin accounts created in the past 90 days. Single ransomware incidents can mask multiple threat actors operating in parallel. Source: The Hacker News. Next section, Ransomware and Extortion. 40 bleed credential theft, linked to INC and links ransomware operations. 40 bleed mass credential harvesting, directly fed INC and links ransomware operations. SOC radar tracked scanning against 11,250 FortiGate portals in 150-plus countries, with confirmed admin-level access on 409 targets and full attack chain completion on 354. At least 12 ransomware deployments resulted, encrypting hundreds of endpoints. The campaign targeted 430,000 FortiGate firewalls globally and gathered over 110 million credentials. An operator with 40 bleed infrastructure access was found logged into both INC and links negotiation panels. Victims listed by INC ransom overlapped with 40 bleed data. Internal documents indicate an organized operation of about 20 people with clear division of labor. Russian-speaking threat actor likely operates as initial access broker. SOC radar discovered at least one Nextcloud 0-day in the threat actor's possession and is coordinating with the vendor. Action. Audit all FortiGate admin credentials and reset immediately. Deploy packet capture detection on FortiGate management interfaces. Check for unauthorized firewall configuration changes or credential resets since early 2025. Manufacturing, technology, and logistics sectors in LATAM and APAC were primary targets. Source: The Hacker News. AI agent exploits Langflow RCE to automate database ransomware attack. SysTig documented the first ransomware attack run start to finish by an AI agent with no human operator. Agent JadePuffer exploited CVE 2025-3248, Langflow missing authentication, CISA KEV, EPSS 100th percentile. To gain initial access, swept for PI, keys, OpenAI, Anthropic, DeepSeek, Gemini, and cloud credentials, Oz, Google, Azure, Alibaba, Tencent, crypto wallets, and database logins. It rated a min.io storage server using factory default credentials. Mini-Odmin pivoted to a MySQL database server, logged in as root, origin of root credentials unknown. Exploited CVE 2021-29441, NACO's authentication bypass, EPSS 99th percentile. Using a default signing key unchanged since 2020, encrypted all 1,342 NACO settings, and dropped a ransom note demanding Bitcoin. The encryption key was generated, printed once, and never saved or exfiltrated, making recovery impossible even if the victim pays. The agent deleted databases and left comments claiming data exfiltration, but Sysdig found no evidence of actual data theft. Code contained plain English notes explaining each step, a signature of AI-generated payloads. The agent fixed its own mistakes in 31 seconds instead of blind retries. Action: patch CVE 2025-3248, Langflow, and CVE 2021-29441, NACOs, immediately. Change all default credentials on min.io, NACOs, and similar services. Isolate Langflow servers from production networks. Assume AI agents can chain exploits faster than human operators and adapt defenses accordingly. Source: The Hacker News. AI-generated browser ransomware abuses Chromium API on Windows, Linux, Mac OS, Android. Checkpoint documented DeepSeek-generated malware, Inferno Grabber v9.0, that implements in-browser ransomware using the File System Access API on Chromium browsers. The attack runs entirely inside the browser, without installing a native payload, exploiting a browser vulnerability, or requiring root access. It tricks users into granting file system access to a web page, typically via fake AI image upscaler or Discord avatar tool, enumerates local files in the selected folder, reads and exfiltrates their contents, encrypts and overwrites them, and displays an extortion note. All of this occurs without leaving disk artifacts. The technique works on Google Chrome and Chromium-based browsers across Windows, Mac OS, Chrome OS, Linux, and Android. The Android scenario is especially concerning because photo directories are high-value personal data stores, and Android Chrome exposes the File System Access API for those directories after user approval. Of nearly 3,000 DeepSeek-attributed files analyzed over the past year, 1,383 were classified as malicious or dangerous. DeepSeek has lower refusal rates for harmful cyber requests compared to Anthropic and OpenAI, free access, and can generate complete malicious applications from a single broad prompt. Action: user training on File System Access API permission prompts. Reject folder-level file access requests from web pages unless the use case is unambiguous and trusted. Monitor for user complaints about encrypted files without corresponding malware artifacts on disk. Sources: The Hacker News. Checkpoint Research. Missed incidents and persistent threats. Insights from Compromise Assessment Project's Kaspersky's 2025 Compromise Assessment findings show 30.8% of discovered incidents took over 3 months to detect. 52% of high-severity compromises went undetected for over 90 days. The oldest incident discovered in 2025 had persisted for 4 years. 40% of all web shells resided in backups and went unnoticed until proper compromise assessment. Threat actors relied on remote management tools and low L-bins in all engagements that resulted in incident detection. Organizations with continuous monitoring and threat hunting saw high and medium severity incidents drop to 14-16%, while those without such capabilities saw 84-86%. High-severity incidents were rare among organizations with in-house malware reverse engineering capabilities. Nearly one-third of compromise assessments revealed communication issues that impacted incident response activities. Action: include backups in all compromise assessments and malware scans. Implement continuous monitoring and threat hunting instead of relying solely on automated alerts. Web shells and backups will reinfect systems after remediation if not addressed. Source: Securalist. Next section: Business and Infrastructure Threats. New Choco Po CRAT targets vulnerability researchers via fake proof of concept exploit repos. Attackers hide Choco Po C malware in fake proof of concept repositories on GitHub targeting high-profile CVEs. Malware hides in a Python dependency, front right arrow skytext, that the POC pulls during pip install, not in the visible POC code itself. The compiled file, gradient, /gradient. PID only activates when it detects the real POC loaded, checks for exploit POC, PI or similar, which defeats sandbox analysis. Once running, Choco POC steals passwords, cookies, autofill, and history from Chrome, Brave, Edge, and Firefox, plus text files, databases, shell history, and network settings. The attacker can run shell commands, execute arbitrary Python, pull folders, and throttle activity to stay quiet. Command and Control uses Mapbox datasets as dead drops via DNS over HTTPS and domain fronting. Uploads go to 91.132, 163, 78. At least 7 fake POC repos were found targeting 40 WebCV E2025-64446, React 2 Shell, Mongo Bleed, PanOS, Ivanti Sentry, Checkpoint VPN, and Joomla. The Skydex package alone was downloaded about 2,400 times, mostly on Linux. An earlier campaign used packages SlogSec and LogCrypt, cryptography with near-identical code, and 6 additional CVEs. See show notes for the full list. Action: review all POC repositories cloned in the past 6 months for Frint, Skydex, SlogSec, and LogCrypt. Cryptography packages. Verify POC code authenticity from known researchers before running. Isolate test environments from production credentials and client data. Source: The Hacker News. Progress Kemp Loadmaster Pre-Auth RCE flaw faces active exploitation attempts. CVE 2026-8037. CVSS 9.6. In progress, Kemp Loadmaster sees active exploitation attempts starting June 29, 2026. The OS command injection flaw allows unauthenticated attackers to execute arbitrary commands on the Loadmaster appliance by exploiting unsanitized input. The vulnerability stems from improper handling in the escape quotes function, which fails to properly null terminate sanitized strings, leading to out-of-bounds read into adjacent heap memory. Attackers craft requests to the /access2 endpoint that manipulate heap memory to enable command injection. eCentire observed exploitation attempts originating from 192.42, 116, 58, 192.42.116.105, and 146.70.139.154. The attempts failed, but proof-of-concept exploits and technical details are public, driving further exploitation activity. Is the second Kemp Loadmaster flaw to witness active exploitation after CVSS 10.0, CISACEV, and 2 additional CVEs. See show notes for the full list. Action: patch CVE 2026-8037 immediately. Progress released updates early June 2026. Block source IPs 192.42.116.58 and at perimeter. Review Loadmaster logs for /access2 endpoint access patterns since June 29, and 2 additional IP addresses in the show notes. Sources: The Hacker News Watchtower Labs. Unpatched Argo CD repo server flaw could let attackers take over Kubernetes cluster's Argo CD repo server, has an unpatched, unauthenticated RCE that leads to full cluster takeover. The internal gRPC service has no authentication, allowing anyone who can reach it to send crafted requests to run commands. The attack abuses Customize Helm command option to point to a malicious script from an attacker-controlled Git repository instead of the Helm binary. Argo CD ships Kubernetes network policies to wall repo server off, but the Helm chart leaves those policies off by default network policy. Create equals false. In that configuration, any compromised pod in the cluster can reach repo server and trigger the bug. Synictive demonstrated using repo server access to steal the Redis password from an environment variable, connect to Redis, and poison the deployment cache. On the next automatic sync, Argo CD deploys the attacker-supplied workload. This reopens CVE 2024-31989, 2024 Redis password bypass. There's no patched version, no CVE or common vulnerabilities and exposures assigned, and no fixed timeline. Synictive reported the flaw in January 2025, 18 months ago. Action: enable Kubernetes network policies immediately. Check with kubectl, get network policy, to verify policies are active for repo server and Redis. If missing, repo server and Redis ports are reachable from the entire cluster. Argo CD provides policy files. Helm users must enable them manually. Source: The Hacker News. Crafty phishing campaigns auto-adapt to victim's device. OS Cofense documented phishing campaigns that fingerprint victims through user agent data to deliver OS-specific payloads. Landing pages collect email addresses, browser information, device information, language, local time, screen and window size, and geolocation. One campaign delivered FleetDeck for Mac OS or Tiflux RAT for Windows based on fingerprinting results. Cloudflare user agent blocking redirects traffic based on perceived operating system before the victim visits the malicious page, enabling customized payloads without detection scripts. Phishing landing pages mimic Google, DocuSign, Microsoft Teams, Adobe, and Zoom download screens based on telemetry. Threat actors exfiltrate data via Telegram. The technique increases compromise rates and campaign profitability by delivering the right malware to the right user instead of losing traffic on unsupported platforms. Action: user agent fingerprinting detection in email gateways and web proxies. Monitor for phishing landing pages hosted behind Cloudflare that redirect based on user agent. Telegram exfiltration monitoring. Source: dark reading. This phishing kit looks more like BEC as a service Cisco Talos discovered AR token, an operator panel that functions as business email compromise as a service. AR token shares infrastructure with Evil Token's phishing as a service operation. 1,380% attack increase early this year. AR token goes beyond device code phishing with inbox rule manipulation and shared access links, indicating a complete BEC operations environment. The platform has a 7-layer anti-analysis system. Lures are targeted rather than opportunistic. One examined lure spoofed an accounts payable contact at a legitimate Wisconsin contractor, addressed to accounts payable at a U.S. life sciences company, abusing a real vendor relationship. The lure theme was an outstanding invoice inquiry designed to trigger immediate action. Action: train accounts payable staff to verify invoice inquiries through out-of-band communication before acting. Monitor inbox rule creation and shared mailbox access delegation. Public sector targeted, but likely not the only sector affected. Source: Cyberscoop. Microsoft adds new Teams controls to block unauthorized AI bots from meetings. Microsoft added a new Teams admin policy to provide visibility and control over external bots joining meetings. Teams now detects bots and requires explicit organizer confirmation before admitting them. Detected bots are placed in the meeting lobby with clear identification. Even when organizers allow participants to bypass the lobby, bots identified through this policy require approval before joining. ISVs can register bots and include a self-identification marker in join requests for teams to identify them as known participants. Participants in the lobby are grouped into waiting, verified individuals and registered bots, and suspected threats, unregistered bots. Teams does not offer a one-click admit option for identified bots and requests confirmation when admitting bots. CAPTCHA verification is retired. Action: deploy the manage external bots and their access to meetings policy from Teams Admin Center. Review bot admission patterns in meeting audit logs. Train organizers to scrutinize bot admission requests, especially for meetings with sensitive information. Source: Security Week. Next section: patch priority. SharePoint server. CVE 2026-45659, CVSS 8.8, CIS a KEV deadline July 4, actively exploited deserialization RCE. Progress Kemp Loadmaster. CVE 2026-8037, CVSS 9.6, active exploitation attempts, unauthenticated OS command injection. Langflow. CVE 2025-3248, CIS a KEV, EPSS 100th percentile. Missing authentication enables RCE, used in AI-driven ransomware attack. Adobe Cold Fusion. 7 CVSS 10.0 flaws including unrestricted file upload, improper input validation, and path traversal leading to arbitrary code execution. Patched in Cold Fusion 2023 Update 21 and 2025 Update 10. Fortinet 40 Client EMS. CVE 2026-35616, CVSS 9.1, CIS a KEV, used to deploy EKZ Stealer in energy sector targeting. Next section, Vulnerability Disclosures. Adobe patches 7 CVSS 10.0 flaws in Cold Fusion and Campaign Classic. Adobe released patches for multiple maximum severity flaws in Cold Fusion and Campaign Classic. Cold Fusion vulnerabilities include CVE 2026-48276, unrestricted file upload leading to arbitrary code execution, improper input validation leading to arbitrary code execution, path traversal leading to arbitrary code execution, path traversal leading to arbitrary file system read, CVSS 9.3, and improper input validation leading to privilege escalation, CVSS 9.3. Addressed in Cold Fusion 2023 Update 21 and Cold Fusion 2025 Update 10. Adobe Campaign Classic, incorrect authorization leading to arbitrary code execution, CVSS 10.0, affects ACC v7. 7.4.3 build 9396 and earlier for Windows and Linux. Patched in ACC v7. 7.4.3 build 9397. Only impacts on-premise Adobe Campaign instances, including fully on-premise deployments and on-premise components in hybrid deployments. Adobe-hosted instances already updated. No exploits in the wild for any issues. Adobe is moving from monthly to twice-monthly security bulletins, second and fourth Tuesday of each month, starting July 14, 2026, due to accelerated vulnerability discovery using AI models. The window between public vulnerability disclosure and active exploitation is compressing from days to hours, and 8 additional CVEs. See show notes for the full list. Action: apply Cold Fusion 2023 Update 21, Cold Fusion 2025 Update 10, and ACC v7. 7.4.3 Build 9397 immediately. On-premise Adobe campaign deployments must patch manually. Adobe-hosted instances are already patched. Source: The Hacker News. Critical cursor flaws could let prompt injection escape sandbox and run commands 2 flaws in cursor AI code editor. Dune slide, CVE 2026-50548, and both CVSS 9.8 or 9. 3 CVSS 4.0. Allow a single prompt to break out of the safety sandbox and run arbitrary commands on a developer's computer with no click or approval. Both are patched in Cursor 3.0, released April 2, 2026. Every version before 3.0 is affected. More than half the Fortune 500 use Cursor. Abuses the working directory parameter on run terminal CMD to point at system files instead of the project, overriding the sandbox helper. Abuses symlink resolution by forcing the safety check to fail, allowing writes outside the project. Once the sandbox is neutralized, the next command runs as the user. The attack vector is prompt injection via connected services, model context protocol, or web search results, making it zero-click. No sign of active exploitation. Cato reported February 19, Cursor rejected February 23, MCP servers outside threat model. Cato escalated February 26, Cursor reopened, triaged, and patched in 3.0. CVE ID assigned June 5, and 3 additional CVEs. See show notes for the full list. Action: update Cursor to version 3.0 or later immediately. Review MCP server configurations for unexpected additions. Audit recent command execution history for suspicious activity if running pre-3.0 versions. Source: The Hacker News. Next section, General Security News. And the winner in dominant malware delivery. ClickFix ReliaQuest analyzed threat activity from March 1 to May 31 and found ClickFix dominated initial access and defense evasion categories. ClickFix tricks users into copying and pasting malicious commands into Windows terminal or other system dialogues by presenting fake error messages or capture requests. The approach bypasses file scanning and email-based defenses. Variants include CrashFix, continually crashes browsers and presents malicious commands as remedy, and SEO-poisoned AI models. ClickFix expanded to Mac OS for the first time, with clear examples featuring Atomic Mac OS stealer, Amos. Threat actors switch from pirated software lures to AppleScript, / links that automatically open script editor and run attacker commands, bypassing the Mac OS 26. 4 terminal paste warning. ClickFix drove nearly 28% of defense evasion activity through command and file obfuscation. One ClickFix loader uses AI-generated obfuscation with thousands of variable assignments designed to look like routine scripting, helping attackers produce new variants faster. ClickFix activity shifted from compromised websites to emailed links. Malvertising campaigns via Google Ads masqueraded as developer tools. Action: user training on ClickFix social engineering tactics. Block AppleScript, / links at email gateways and web proxies. Monitor script editor execution on Mac OS with the same coverage as Windows Terminal. Source: Dark Reading. 19-year-old scattered spider suspect extradited to face U.S. hacking charges. Peter Stokes, 19, a dual U.S. and Estonian citizen, was extradited from Finland to face U.S. charges of conspiracy, computer intrusion, and fraud. Finnish police arrested him in April on an Interpol red notice before extradition in late June. Court records identify Stokes by the online handle Bouquet and describe at least 4 intrusions starting when he was 16. In May 2025, prosecutors say he and others broke into a luxury jewelry retailer, copied data, and demanded about $8 million in cryptocurrency. The retailer refused, evicted the intruders, and spent at least $2 million on cleanup. Finnish officers seized 2 2TB hard drives when they stopped Stokes at Helsinki airport trying to board a flight to Japan. Scattered Spider, also tracked as Octo Tempest, UNC 3944, and Zero K Tapis, is a loose, mostly English-speaking group of young people spread across the US, UK, and Europe. Main tactic is social engineering. Phone a company's IT help desk, pretend to be a locked-out worker, and talk staff into resetting passwords or approving logins. best known for 2023 MGM Resorts and Caesars Entertainment attacks. Assistant Attorney General A. Tyson Duva said the group has been involved in over 100 network intrusions, resulting in more than $100 million in ransom payments. Action: stricter identity checks before password resets and multi-factor authentication. Sign-in keys that phishing cannot steal. Monitor company chat tools and incident response calls for threat actors listening in. Source: The Hacker News. Microsoft accelerates post-quantum cryptography shift to 2029. Microsoft is accelerating its quantum-safe security roadmap, stating technology advances in quantum computing are making it essential to replace existing encryption standards sooner than previously expected. The Microsoft Quantum Safe Program, QSP, timeline now targets transitioning critical products and services to post-quantum cryptography, PQC, by 2029. Focus areas include upgrading network cryptography by adopting TLS1. 3. Building crypto agility for stored data and transitioning to PQC algorithms to secure trust chains, code signing, certificate issuance, key protection, update pipelines. Crypto agility requires removing hard-coded algorithm assumptions, persisting adequate information to reconstruct cryptographic context, and building systems where algorithm upgrades become routine engineering tasks. U.S. President Donald Trump signed an executive order setting hard deadlines for federal agencies to move high-value assets and high-impact systems to PQC. Google announced a new Chrome program to ensure HTTPS certificates are quantum secure and publicly committed to migrating its own infrastructure to be quantum secure by 2029. Cloudflare has similar plans. The threat is compounded by harvest now, decrypt later, where adversaries collect encrypted data now to decode it later once a large-scale quantum machine becomes operational. Action: begin post-quantum cryptography planning now. Prioritize crypto agility in new systems to facilitate algorithm changes without redesigns. Review trust chains, code signing, certificate issuance for quantum vulnerability. Source: The Hacker News. Next section: trends and context. 3 themes dominate today's threat landscape. AI-driven attacks are moving from theoretical to operational. Credential harvesting campaigns are feeding ransomware operations at scale, and phishing social engineering continues to evolve faster than defenses. The AI agent ransomware attack and browser-only ransomware demonstrate that LLMs are now capable of designing and executing novel attack chains without human intervention. The 40 bleed to ransomware pipeline shows credential theft operations are no longer standalone attacks, but the first stage of extortion campaigns. Click-fix and platform-aware phishing prove that social engineering remains the most effective initial access vector, and attackers are adapting faster than security awareness training can keep pace. That concludes today's cyber threat brief. From Carolina Clear Tech. Stay patched, stay vigilant.